All right, is everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay, no Rocky music tonight. We're gonna skip that unless you guys are feeling frisky and you want to go ahead and do it. I'm open for entertainment. All right, we'll pass on that for tonight. Welcome everybody. This is not good for somebody who's doing a presentation. This doesn't work. So I'll be ready to start when I have volunteers come and sit up front here for me. So Carlos is always good with that. Yeah. We're just waiting for this first row to. Waiting for the back row to move. Yeah, the teachers are in charge. We don't tell them what to do. They tell us what to do.
They didn't even save me a seat.
That's, yeah, Mary's been under fire for lesser things already. But hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey.
Come on. Okay, I think we're ready to start now. I told them I wouldn't start until the front row fills up. We do have 2 more chairs, so we're almost there. But if anybody else walks in, Deborah, you can put them in the spitting section here. I do give soap with my showers. So if you start feeling the dousing, hey, good to see you. How are you guys? All right, so we're here for cancer prevention tonight. Cancer prevention, is everybody here for the workshop?
Yep.
Okay, I have a question for you. How many of you have been to a cancer prevention workshop before? Quite a number of you guys. Wow, probably more than half the room. Wow. Keep your hand up if you've been to 5 or more workshops, 10 or more workshops, 20 or more, 30 or more. Okay. So look around. You're among friends. We have a workshop culture here, and as the saying goes, when you stop learning, you stop growing, and when you stop growing, you start what? Dying. Yes. So we're all about constant and never-ending improvement. So I want to encourage you to continue to come back to the workshops. You see, many folks are here who've already been to a cancer prevention workshop, and the reason why is what? An old dog can always learn new tricks. Ask Luther. I'm just kidding. You're not an old dog. So we're never too old to learn something, right? And I can promise you, as we go through this tonight, there's going to be a lot of stuff, and you're not going to get everything. It's like drinking from a fire hose. But let's just jump right into it. Next month we have a workshop on how to slow your aging process. Some of you guys have birthdays this month. Some of you guys have birthdays next month. Some of you guys have birthdays sometime in the next 12 months. Raise your hand if that's you. Okay. So you can't stop the clock, right? But we can get older, but the most important thing is if we get older, we need to get healthier. So that's the most important thing. And we do have a workshop coming up next month on slowing the aging process. And that's what we want. So make sure you get dialed in for that. Tonight will be the last workshop that we have on Monday nights. I'm going to say that again. Tonight will be the last workshop that we're having on Monday nights. So starting next month, we're going to start doing them on Tuesday nights. And I just want to give you a heads up for that. We'll keep you posted. We'll keep you in the loop as we go on. I know it's going to throw some of you guys off track, but I promise to help keep you on track. So getting back to cancer prevention, cancer diagnosis. This is something that if I asked you, is it getting better or worse? We already know the answer. If you look at the statistics back in 1940, cancer was 1 out of 16, the diagnosis, right? In 1970, 1 out of 10. Today it's what? 1 out of 2. So here's the question for you. How much have human genes changed since 1940? Don't we really have the same type of genetics now as we did in the previous generation? Yeah, the genes are the same. Last time I checked, the human species hasn't really evolved much in the last 40 years, genetically speaking. Does that everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
So why are we seeing more cancer? Why are more people dying from cancer? And that's what I want to get into tonight. And more importantly, how do we prevent that from happening to any more of our loved ones or ourselves or our friends, family members, whatever it is? We want to look at this very closely and understand one thing, that it's not your genes that are going to determine whether or not you get cancer. Are you with me? It's not your genes. It's not the fact that maybe cancer, both your parents had cancer. Maybe somebody died in your family of cancer. Maybe it was your mother or your father. It doesn't matter. That doesn't necessarily predetermine your destiny to get that or not. What studies are showing today is it's not your genes. It's something called epigenetics. It's what you do in terms of living your life that's either going to turn on those cancer-promoting genes or turn them off. Turn on the cancer-fighting genes or turn them off. And basically, you're going to be flipping the switch one way or the other based on your lifestyle. So you see that little switch right there? What is that? It's a toggle switch. You have an on and an off. And I want you to look at that toggle switch and understand that all of your chromosomes have a toggle switch on them. All of your chromosomes have a toggle switch on them. And who flips the switch? Raise your hand and say, aye. Aye. Yes, we all do. So you have cancer-promoting genes that on a day-to-day basis, you're either turning on cancer-promoting genes or turning them off. Which one do you want to do? You want to turn them off. You have cancer-fighting genes that you're either turning on or you're turning them what? Off. Which one do you want to do? Off. So who's in control of that? You are. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple of things with you that are going to give you the instructions on how to turn the ones that you want to turn on and turn off the ones that you want to turn off. First thing is go home and open up your medicine chest and see what's in there. And start learning that every time that you can avoid these things, you're reducing your risk of cancer. You're turning off cancer-promoting genes by avoiding these things. Antacids, CVS pulls them off the market recently because of what? Cancer-causing impurities. Maxine, you remember this a couple of years ago? There were blood pressure medications. Many of us in the room were on them, and they were pulled because of a cancer-causing impurity in them. And you went home and you asked your doctor, and what did the doctor say? Oh yeah, I've been meaning to call you about that. You have to have this on your radar. You have to do whatever you can to avoid these things unless it's a life-threatening emergency. Because chronically, it's going to build up and it's going to turn on these cancer-promoting genes. Women taking an aspirin a day for 5 years or more increase their risk of breast cancer by 80%. So what they do, they told us to take an aspirin a day, right? But look, the doctors just reversed their recommendation recently. They said don't take an aspirin a day to prevent heart attacks or strokes. It doesn't help it. It actually causes more. Cholesterol drugs shown to increase your risk of breast cancer by anywhere from 80 to over 140%. And antibiotics, well, we should know that because what do antibiotics do to your immune system? They don't make them stronger. They make them what? Weaker. That's why, the more you take antibiotics, the more you have to take them. So I never recommend these things. Again, if at all possible, try to avoid it. So that's the first thing. And then we don't just have cancer-causing treatments, but we also have cancer-causing procedures, medical procedures or screenings. Whether it's a breast screening, a mammography, or a prostate screening. I want to cover this too because you're going to be recommended to do this stuff, and ultimately it's your decision, it's your choice. But you need to understand that not all doctors recommend the same thing. Not all medical doctors recommend the same thing. And the largest study that was ever done on mammography still hasn't been bested. It hasn't been topped. There was 90,000 people they put through this, and it was published in the British Medical Journal. And this right here is a medical doctor who actually expounds on it, and she pretty much gives the results. And I'm just going to give you a 20-second clip of what she said the conclusion of the study found.
This study reported that a large population of women that are randomized to get screening mammography and a good breast exam versus those that don't get the screening mammography, that there's no difference whatsoever in subsequent mortality.
Subsequent mortality. What does that mean? Done. No difference between the ones who did get the mammography as a preventative and the ones who didn't. No difference in the outcome. So you have to ask yourself, why do they push these screenings so much? Well, the race for the cure, or we should say the race from the cure. You should be running away from this Anytime you see the pink,
Oh, I knew it.
you have to follow the money trail to where it goes. And originally, this whole Think Pink thing came from where? Susan B. Komen Foundation, which was the front runner for the drug company who manufactures what? Breast cancer drugs. Tamoxifen, Arimidex. These are drug companies that are trying to promote screenings so that they could find more cancers and dispense more of their what? Their pharmaceuticals. Yes. So it's an industry. The cancer treatment, the whole process of this is an industry that leads to profit and increasing the pockets and the shareholders of all of the drug companies. Does everybody see that? Billions and billions. How many tens of billions of dollars have been raised for this in the month of I think it's October or September? And they pay heavy licensing fees to have that pink ribbon on there to get in on it because it makes them look good. It increases the image of their business. So everybody wants to think pink. Everybody wants to get in on it because it makes them look good. But really, where does the money go? Does it teach people how to prevent cancer, or does it just get more screenings involved so that they can find more cancers and treat more cancers and get more utilization out of the cancer drugs? Right. Okay, so that's really where this comes from, and I just want to make sure everybody's sensitive to that. When you see the advertisements, or you're checking out a McDonald's or your favorite business, and they ask you to make a donation for that, understand where that money goes, and then make your choice accordingly. So, similar for men, should you get a prostate screening? You go to the doctor, and the doctor's going to, of course, recommend that you get a prostate screening. Should you get a prostate screening? Well, the new research coming out is showing that if you don't have any symptoms, it's inappropriate, and there's no use for it at all. And what is PSA anyway? What is PSA? Prostate-specific antigen. Is it specific for prostate cancer? If your PSA goes up, does it mean that you have prostate cancer? No. What could cause your PSA to go up? Fever, infection, exercise. Yeah, my dad's PSA was like at 27. Oh man, my gosh, he was freaking out. He was riding his bike every day, and it wasn't until he was riding his bike that his his prostate went through the roof. Of course, the doctor wanted to get right on with a cancer protocol. My dad was like, "Whoa, hold your horses. Let's look into this." So my parents are probably watching this workshop now. They've seen this before, so he was dialed into this, and he said, like, we're not doing this. And of course, his PSA came right down. Infections, if your prostate enlarges, these are all things, and yet they're going to find this, and they strike fear and panic in the hearts of men who then opt to go with the whole protocol, which could involve radiation and medication and chemotherapy. Who knows? Yeah. So think about how many cancers that are falsely detected and falsely treated. And then you kind of get the idea of a lot of the suffering that goes on out there. So why are they dialing back having prostate exams?
For numerous reasons. Director of Research at Mayo Clinic's Department of Urology, Dr. Jeff Kahn says such false alarms may subject men to unnecessary tissue sample biopsies or to aggressive cancer therapies that may not be warranted. Recent well-designed studies in both the U.S. and Europe have concluded PSA testing shows very little benefit for men with no symptoms of prostate cancer. Dr. John Tilbert says,
so there you have it. When you get a biopsy, are there any problems that could arise from that? What do you do? Is it possible to awaken a sleeping giant? I mean, because some people don't know. They're like, well, I'll just go for a biopsy. They'll biopsy the tissue there in my breast or my prostate. And what they don't know is that very often it'll cause the tissue to rupture, the cancer cells to rupture and spread. And if you'd have left it alone, that may not have happened. And I've seen that happen in instances of my own family members. So again, choices. We have consequences, we have choices, and then we have effects and we have causes. And that's always what I want to try to help you get dialed in on. Understand that. The Journal of the American Medical Association said, they published this in one of their journals not too long ago. They said our technologies have gotten so good that we can find some early cancers or things that look like cancer that if if you left it alone, right? If you left it alone, it would never grow, never spread, and never harm the patient. So what is left? Why would they recommend leaving it alone?
Sell more drugs.
I mean, if you leave it alone, they obviously understand that the body has a self-regulating, self-healing mechanism inherent within it. That's it. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Leave it alone. Maybe sometimes the power that made the body can actually heal the body, huh? Maybe. Wow. It's almost saying that, but not quite. But you're getting the gist of it. That everybody has cancer. You have cancer. I have cancer. We all have cancer cells growing in our body all the time, every day of our lives. But your body has to be strong. Your immune system has to be strong to be able to detect it and correct it, kill it off. When your immune system's weak and weakens too much, that's when cancer gets a foothold and it starts to escape the normal control mechanisms and grow beyond control and start to spread. Now, there are a lot of factors that go into that. One of them I talked to you about was opening up your medicine chest. The remainder of the PowerPoint is some of the other factors that you understand what to do to give your body the support it needs to be able to catch it, detect it, and kill it long before your medical doctor or prostate or mammogram actually finds it. So these are important things. You want to be out in front of the disease, right, Beverly? You want to be out in front of it, killing it before it has a chance to rear its ugly head or get on anybody's radar. Autopsies find prostate cancer in 30% of men over the age of 50. 50% by age 70, and 80% of men by the age of 90. If a man lives long enough, he will die with his prostate cancer and not from it. Thyroid cancers, 11% of the adult population have thyroid cancers. Despite this incidence, it rarely causes death. Colonoscopy screenings. How many of you guys have been told you should have a colonoscopy screening? Find precancerous lesions in almost what? Half the general population, at least by the age of 80. That means if we were to do a colonoscopy on everybody in this room right now, what are the chances we'd be finding stuff? Pretty good. Pretty good. But you know what? Year after year it goes by, and what happens? Nothing. Nothing. You live with it. Your body, takes care of some of it, goes away, puts it into remission. For others, it actually sequesters it, and it contains it, and nothing happens. And you wind up dying with your cancer instead of from it. That's why people ask me, do you get a colonoscopy? Do you get a colonoscopy? I personally don't. I have an old saying, it's if you go looking for trouble, you're gonna find it. Yeah. And again, most doctors who know how the body works are not going to disagree with what we're talking about. But again, it all comes down to choices. You have to decide what you're comfortable with. But these come from medical journals, medical doctors. This is all research that I've done, not by people with no initials after me. These are well-credentialed physicians that I'm sharing with you. So when they do find these lesions, cancer, benign, malignant, whatever it is, what everybody knows what's the conventional course of care. What is it? Usually it's what? It's chemotherapy or radiation. Now, for the reason why somebody develops cancer is not because of a lack of chemotherapy or radiation, right? So then the question is, the problem is we're so panic-stricken, we can't think straight. They give you a death sentence. They say you have to do this or you're going to die. So we can't think straight. We can't just settle down and breathe and be still, right? And say, okay, well, what else can I do? Like, if I'm going to go through and do this, am I correcting the cause? And of course, we know the answer is no. When you look at the dirty fish bowl, what is that two pictures of showing us? It's if you look at the one on the left, you got a dirty fish bowl, and you see the fish, they're black, they're diseased, right? So what would be a good solution? Should we leave the water the way it is? And maybe just treat the fish, give them powerful medications that actually are toxic to the fish, and leave the dirty fish tank the way it
No,
is.
clean the tank.
Clean the tank, right? So in essence, the person who gets cancer usually has a dirty fishbowl that created a habitat or an environment which was conducive, the right proper conditions for cancer to thrive and survive. Okay. Now, if one decides to get chemotherapy or radiation, what that does is it clouds up the waters even more. It may take the spots off the fish. It may make the fish look a little bit better, although the fish may have less hair, maybe less scales. In the process, I don't know. That was a bad joke. But getting back to the point, the idea is that we're still not addressing the cause until we what? Correct the condition in the environment. This is where you have to make your decision. You know, hopefully you'll never have to do that, but I think if the statistics are 1 out of 2 people, chances are somebody, at least half the people in this room, are going to be confronted with that decision. And you're going to have to ask yourself that question. Do I follow through what my medical doctor's recommendations are and just allow myself to be subjected to that? Or do I look for a cause, a better way? And I'll share with you guys, I'll share with you exactly what, we did with my mother and what worked and what else she did that didn't really work and what to look at. How do you know if you're making progress? How do you know if you're cleaning up the fishbowl? Always ask yourself, are you correcting the cause? Type 2 diabetes and cancer. Does one have to do with the other? What do you think? The close association of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cancer clearly establishes cancer as a disease of what? Of metabolism. Yeah. Cancer cells grow because you feed them what they need to multiply. And the main thing there is sugar. Breast, I didn't spell that right, did I? Breast, prostate. I'm usually pretty good with spelling, but that doesn't look right, Gary, does it? No. Okay. All right, I'll go. Thank you. Be rest. So, breast, prostate, colon cancer cells all have what? They have insulin receptors on them. Yeah, they have insulin receptors. Can you believe that? So it doesn't matter if you eat a bowl of Haagen-Dazs or you have your gummy bears, or you have bread or pasta or potatoes. When sugar is metabolized, you're going to have an insulin response, and that's what the cancers are sensing, and they hijack that sugar away from the muscles and all that glucose and shuttle it into those cells, and that's what feeds the cancer. So what's one of the tools that everybody knows they use to see where the cancer is in the body? Or what? A PET scan, right? When they shoot that radioactive isotope inside of you, the tracer, what are they shooting into you? It's glucose. Because the cancer's going to find it, it's going to hijack it, and then it's going to light up the scan. So that's something known as the Warburg effect, named after Otto von Warburg, who in 1931 was handpicked by Albert Einstein and Adolf Hitler to pioneer their cancer research team. He was far and beyond lifetimes ahead of his lifetime when it came to this. And what he said was cancer only has one primary cause, the replacement of respiration with oxygen in place of that using sugar. They use something called glycolysis, where they utilize sugar, and as a byproduct, there's fermentation. And what the fermentation does in that environment is it kills off all the other healthy cells around it, and it accelerates the multiplication process of those cancer cells. Are you with me so far? Yeah. So he went on to say, no disease including cancer can exist in a what? An alkaline environment. So you've heard of alkaline and acid, especially when it comes to keeping a pool nice and clean. It's the same thing inside of your body. So when you look at the blood field, for example, does everybody see the healthy blood field up on the right there? You see all those little circles? Those are cells. And inside the cell, you're supposed to have a positive charge. And when it's fully oxygenated, healthy cells are oxygen rich, and they have a positive charge on the inside and a negative charge on the outside. All right, so what does that do? When it's negatively charged, Luther, on the outside, what does it do? It repels all the other cells so they don't stick and clump together, and all those well-oxygenated cells can shoot through the bloodstream at maximum velocity. And cancer can't survive in that environment because it doesn't use oxygen. It can if it wants to, but it doesn't. It's much more, it chooses a much more inefficient pathway, which is called glycolysis, which is the process of utilizing sugar. And when it does that, it creates lactic acid. Lactic acid is not cell friendly because you see you see the halo around those cells, those healthy cells? That's the cell membrane. You know what the cell membrane is made up of? Who said fat?
Fat.
Who said fat? All right, you get a high five.
Oh,
Yahoo! Right. High five. So the cell membranes are made up of what?
fat.
Fat. Okay, so fat is a very delicate substance, but it's very important because it's permeable. That means all the good stuff, the vitamins, the antioxidants, and nutrients can get in, and the bad stuff, all the toxins can get out. So every cell in your body is made up of fats. But when it's in the presence of that acid has a damaging effect on the membrane of the cell. So the cells begin to rupture in a lactic acid environment, and all those positive charges on the inside now escape. And instead of it being negative on the outside, it's positive on the outside. And what happens to the cells? Instead of them repelling each other, they what? They start clumping together. And now, you don't have so much oxygen moving through the environment. You have a lactic acid environment, which what? Cancer loves. That lactic acid environment is very hospitable and the perfect condition for cancer to thrive and survive. So, how do we help that condition along? Chris, how do we help that condition along? Joy? Why are you laughing? Don't I always do that? You're used to that by now. Vianney's right behind him. Vianney's still awake. So how do we contribute to these acidic conditions? What do we do to help contribute to that environment that enables cancer to thrive and survive? What do? We have the standard American diet. Processed foods, processed meats, too much red meat. What else do you see there? Alcohol. What else do you see there? Caffeine. Caffeine with milk, with iced milk, yeah. Dairy, highly acidic. Highly acidic. What else? Donuts. What else? We got cakes and cookies, and then we have artificial sweeteners, which is even more acidic than sugar. And of course, we have our high fructose corn syrup, which is sugar on steroids. So you guys get the idea. The standard American diet is one of the major culprits for supporting and giving cancer the fuel that it needs to thrive and survive. Is this making sense to you guys? This is different. Now I'm giving you the cause. Now you're getting the owner's manual to how this whole thing works. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So, if I always said, God forbid, if you or I were to get cancer, regardless of what choice you make to treat the cancer, if you want to do that or if you have to do that. Sometimes tumors get so big so fast where it's too late. Maybe they're obstructing vital organs. You have to have them cut out. I'm not debating that, but I am saying correcting the cause, irrespective of that, means alkalizing. Because what did Dr. Warburg, the Nobel Prize recipient, said? No disease, including cancer, can what? Survive in an alkaline environment. So the question you should be asking yourself is, what can I do to alkalize? What can I do to alkalize? And you have it right there, all the foods by God. Low sugar fruits, right? Lemons, limes, tomatoes, avocados, all the water-rich vegetables, water, alkaline water. You gotta be careful. Some of these bottled waters, like Dasani, are actually acidic. But some of the bottled waters you'll see, you can buy them, that they're slightly alkaline. But there you have it. It's a simple graph. You're either what? Feeding cancer, and you're hitting the switch, turning on cancer-promoting genes, or you're alkalizing and you're turning off the genes for promoting cancer. Does that make sense? All right. So it's kind of like the pool. You want to clean it up. You start to get the pH right in your body. So how do we start getting the pH right? Number one is what? Kill the sugars. Kill the sugars. Again, it's just for some people it's harder than others, and sugar is actually a drug, by the way. I mean, if you have sugar regularly, some people, they have to have a little piece of chocolate every night, or they sneak chocolate, or you have to have your Haagen-Dazs ice cream every night. That's a tough thing. It's hard to break that habit. It's no different than a drug. Your brain lights up no different than if you had a hit of cocaine when you have a hit of sugar. It's the same exact chemical response. Yeah. So the neurotransmitters are what's controlling that whole situation. But you can retrain your body to get off of that. But at any rate, what do you see up here? You see desserts, right? What else do you see right next to that? What is that?
Sodas.
You see sodas. What else? You see tomato ketchup? Wow, yeah. Read the labels. High fructose corn syrup in the ketchup. What about alcohol? Yeah, alcohol targets your liver no different than high fructose corn syrup, like a heat-seeking missile. So this is a serious consideration. I know some studies show you can have a glass of red wine every day, a couple of glasses of red wine every day. I know I read a lot of this stuff, and they say it's okay, and I don't know if I'm okay with that. I really don't. I just knowing what I know as far as how our health is in general, may not be a good idea. If you're an athlete and you're eating clean, and you have like a paleo diet, and your blood sugar's under control, and you exercise every day and eat good, maybe that person may have a fighting chance. But for most of the people that I know who have health conditions, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, if you're a heart patient, if you're a diabetic patient, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's safe to have a drink or two every night. If your body fat composition, if you're obese, I don't think that's a good idea. So, these are all things that you really need to think about. In going through all this, I was thinking before I came in here, I'm going to be standing in front of people who've heard this a million times. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be teaching them stuff that they already know. So what more could I offer you? And you know what that is? Do something. Like, actually leave here and make a commitment, right? Make a commitment to do something different. I don't care what you do, just take one of these things that I say tonight and change and do something different. Whether it's exercising better or cutting out your sugar or praying more, whatever it is, just don't leave here doing the same thing that you came in doing, because it's not the information that you're getting. It's what? The application. It's what you do with it. Because why else are we here? We're here to see change. We're here to see your health improve. Right or right? How about the pasta, your bread, your potatoes, your Cheerios? What's the problem with this? They have, Mike, what's the deal? It's insulin, right? Anytime you have this stuff, it breaks down the sugar, there's an insulin response. And those prostate cancer cells, or those breast and colon cancer cells, and they, woo-wee, give me some of that. Give me some of that. Yeah, there it is. So this is the process. And if you don't know if you have those cancer cells inside of you. If you do, and they're escaping the normal control mechanism, and you're doing this inadvertently, you're giving your body something that you don't want. Right or right? So what's the problem here? You go over to your friend's house, they give you a beautiful home-cooked breakfast. You got grits, eggs, toast there. What do you eat and what do you don't eat?
Grits.
Don't eat the grits. Why? Grits are what? Grits are corn. Corn's a what? A grain, not a vegetable, it's a grain. Yeah. What else?
You don't eat grains so much.
Yeah, don't eat grain so much. She's right. Did you hear her? Don't eat grain so much. So what can you eat? You can eat the eggs and the bacon. And if you were at the Heart Smart workshop a couple of weeks ago, what'd you learn about your eggs and bacon? Will it make your cholesterol go up? No. Actually, they saw people who ate more saturated fat, their cholesterol went down. The risk of heart disease actually went down. Interesting. All right, so what about our oatmeal laced with brown sugar and bananas and all kinds of stuff? What do we do with this? You know, if you have this every once in a blue moon, it may not be the worst thing, but if you're having it like every day and you got blood sugar issues, if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, if you're overweight, definitely time to 86 that. How about your Nutri-Grain bars? If you are not sure what the problem is with Nutri-Grain, you need to go to Publix and read the label. Go to Publix and read the label. Should we be eating Egg McMuffins? What's the problem with that? We got what?
Pancakes.
Pancakes. Pancakes are not on the list, right?
No.
Pancakes are Egg McMuffins because they have what carbs? They have grains. So whole wheat flour or even the enriched flour. That's the thing. So here you have whole wheat flour, which makes the tortillas. And again, you're going to provoke an insulin response. So for a cancer or diabetic patient, to have something like this every day, is that a good idea? No. Arroz con pollo. Again, you know, I may have this every once in a while, but for the person who's overweight, blood sugar, or cancer patient, and you are trying to get things under control, you want to start to avoid things like this more often than not. How about your yogurt? What's the problem with yogurt? Dairy, and what else? Sugar, lots of sugar. You'd be surprised, appalled how much sugar is in some of these yogurts, especially the ones with the very colorful labels. Okay, what do you have here? You have chicken and potatoes. What's on there that's gonna wreck your plan?
Potato.
You got your potatoes. Oh, what about the chicken? What's wrong with the chicken there?
Bread.
Come on, Shaq. What's going on with the chicken? It's fried. It's breaded. Yeah. So for some people that could be a problem. All right. So what do you have here? Potatoes. Okay. So you got your potatoes. Here you have your rice. Here you have your noodles. All right. So these are all things that should be on our radar to what we should be doing less of, right? So what does that look like in better form? Breakfast of Champions, having a shake, the Complete Clean, which has low sugar, no sugar. It's actually got a low level of fruit sugar in there, high protein, loaded with antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, and a low level detox. I have 2 scoops of that in the morning after my workout, and I'll have some low sugar berries. Berries are low in sugar. So you want to have a small cup of berries and then almond butter, which has some good fat in there, which is also cancer fighting. All right, so what do you not see in this picture there for breakfast? What do you not see? Sugar, grits, grains, bread. You don't see any of that. And guess what? You're not going to have an insulin response. So you're on your way to not only starving cancer out of your body, but you're also on your way to fat burning, starting your day in fat burning and keeping your energy stable and consistent all day long. Raise your hand if that's something that sounds healthy. Yes? All right. If you haven't tried the Ultraplex Complete Clean, I would encourage you to do that because there's some of you in here who have actually lost weight by using it as a meal replacement, and it's totally legit. You can do that if you want. It's only a couple hundred calories or less than that, and it's a full meal in terms of what it offers you with the vitamins and the nutritional support that you get in it. The lunch, what you're seeing here, again, you're not seeing bread or rice or potatoes or anything like that. What are you seeing? A salad with a piece of protein on it. Greek salad, same thing. But with your salads, be very careful to not use the dressings that you tear open that are prepackaged. You know, the French or the blue cheese, or they all have hydrogenated fats in them. Even when you go to a restaurant, even if they make the dressing from scratch, I would still opt for the extra virgin olive oil, ask them for oil and vinegar, and when they bring you that oil, look at the color of it too. How many of you have gotten a bottle of olive oil, they bring you the oil, and what color is it, Clara? It's like, it's like clear. It's like alcohol, you know? It's like, what? I asked for olive oil. They're like, that is olive oil. No, it's not. It's corn oil. It's Crisco. So, you know, a lot of times you just, that's what they'll bring you, and you have to be on the lookout for that, because that's what you want. That's what helps to repair and rebuild new healthy cells, as opposed to cancer cells. It helps to reduce the inflammation. I could go on and on about this, but you can't ever have too much extra virgin olive oil. Super important. All right, so we got our dinner here. What do you see for the dinner? You got some lamb, and you got your greens. And that's all you need. Just protein and vegetables. Protein and vegetables. And you will be a lean, mean, fat-burning, cancer-fighting machine. I promise you that. Finish your day. If you're going to have any carbs during the day at all, just have it early, so you at least your metabolism will burn it off. At the last meal of the day, if you're trying to lose weight, Mike, protein and veggies, and that's it. And here's the other thing: there's a fine line between how much protein you can have, because what happens is if you have too much protein, it'll turn to fat. Did you know that? Yeah. If you have too much protein, it will turn to fat. Your body will metabolize it in that fashion. So be careful with that. And then you can, again, see, shrimp and veggies. The only thing that's missing from there is the what? Is the rice. But if you're using coconut oil or you're using extra virgin olive oil, you're getting your good fat in there, and you're not going to be missing anything. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. What is a ketogenic diet? Does anybody know what ketogenic is? Anybody heard of the keto diet? What's the deal with the keto diet? So you start, you're not having any carbs at all, and what it does is it forces your body to use a different form of energy, which is ketones instead of carbohydrates, instead of sugar, which is fine. Your body can do that. It's actually very healthy for your brain. Genetically speaking, some people do better with this than others. That's why I don't recommend it. Unless you've tried it and you feel like you're doing well with it, or you want to go on and off of it, or if you're a cancer patient. If for a cancer patient, I think this is very effective. So I just wanted to mention that in terms of the context of where it fits in this. So if you're not familiar with it, go home and look it up, and you'll see all that you're going to see there is protein and fat. What do you see? Protein and fat, no sugars. So it forces your body to use ketones as a form of energy. And that's just something I wanted to mention with that. What else do you need? What else do you need to reduce inflammation, to help the body repair and regenerate new healthy cells? Good fats, right? What are good fats? What are good healthy fats? Yeah, extra virgin olive oil, avocados, avocado oil, coconut oil, raw nuts and seeds, almonds, walnuts, real butter. How many of you guys cook with real butter? We use Kerrygold. But any kind of organic, real grass-fed butter, I would encourage that you start using that and cook with that. A little bit is okay. Salmon, sardines, all the fatty fish would be something along the lines of your EPA fish oil capsules, which, I think it's important to have a couple of servings of good fatty fish a week, and on top of that, taking your fish oil capsules. Now, in our office, we test you to determine if you're getting enough EPA. Raise your hand if you've had our EPA test, right? You're supposed to be between 8 and 12% of those cells. The membrane of those cells, Luther, is supposed to be between 8 and 12%. Now, everybody that I've tested so far who's been taking a fish oil capsule, where do you think they fall? In range or out of range? Out of range. Out of range, including myself. I was at 7.5%, taking 2 fish oil capsules a day, having 1 serving of tuna, 1 serving of salmon, and all my extra virgin olive oil, and I still came up under range. What does that tell you? You don't know anything until you know what your numbers are, just like your vitamin D. How many of you were taking a vitamin D supplement, and we tested you, and you found that you were way deficient, way under? Almost everybody. So that's why I started putting this in everybody's maintenance plan. Automatically, you got to know where this is, because this isn't just preventing cancer. This is preventing Alzheimer's, heart disease, Every degenerative disease starts in the cell. So why would you not want to start with making sure that your cells have the proper nutrients, the repairing and regenerating building blocks? And that's what this is. That's what all of this does, right? How about fasting? Can fasting help prevent cancer? Research shows that fasting actually shuts down the cancer pathways in the cells. Yeah. So in 1909, they did their first caloric restriction study, and it showed that it had inhibited the growth of tumors in laboratory animals. In mice that were allowed to eat as much as they wanted, the cancer what? Grew the fastest. So automatically they came to that conclusion, but now through studies and more science, they know that the intermittent fasting process protects against a lot of these other things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, inflammation. It gives the cells a chance to heal and clear out the old junk, all the garbage. That's called autophagy. Everybody say autophagy. Autophagy. That's how your body cleanses and heals itself and sloughs off the junk. And it won't do that if you keep force feeding yourself and you never stop eating. So when's a good time to stop eating? Now, or at least tonight, right? Give yourself time. What I try to do is I try to have my last meal like around 6 o'clock. Tonight that's not going to work, but I won't eat for at least 12 hours. I'll go at least 6 at night to probably 7 or 8, 7:30 the next morning. So I'm good usually for about 13 hours or so, and I work out on an empty stomach. And by the time my workout's done, I am famished. So I'm talking about 14 hours. The ideal fasting that they talk about, intermittent fasting, is 16 hours. And that's pretty simple if you stop and think about it. If you have your last meal at 8 o'clock at night, and then you don't eat again until noon or 11 the next day, you're fasting. You're doing intermittent fasting. And is this cancer protective?
Yes.
You bet your bottom dollar it is. Not only that, are you going to lose weight? Yeah. Yes, you are. I've had a lot of success with that. And in fact, in our program, our weight loss program, that's part of what we do. And with that, immediately, we'll see diabetes reverse. We'll see blood sugar, cholesterol, all these levels start correcting and people reducing and getting off medications. It happens very quickly. So that's why I want to mention about how important it is to watch your weight. 1 million participants in this study, average age of 57, healthy and free of any detectable cancer at the beginning of the study. How many people in the study? 1 million people. They tracked them every 2 years to see who died and why. And what they found in 2003, at the conclusion of the study, that obesity significantly raised the risk of cancer. Listen to this. They found if your BMI is over 30, which means you're obese, and over 40, they suffered 52 to 62% more overall cancer death. If your BMI, I'm going to say this again, is over 30 or 40, you want to know. If you don't know what your BMI is and you're overweight, this should concern you. Because these people suffered 52 to 62% more overall cancer death. That's a significant increase, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
The risk of liver cancer increased by 452% and pancreatic cancer by 261%. So this is why I'm saying, when I talk about helping patients lose weight, the weight loss part of it is not nearly as significant as knowing where the BMI is. When we look at the BMI, knowing if it's out of range or if it's in range. And if it's out of range, when you're on a weight loss program, yeah, we want to see the scale go down. But what's more important than your scale going down is the fat mass going down, that your BMI is going down, that your body fat percentage is going down, that your visceral fat, that the fat that's surrounding and suffocating and wrapped around your organs is being dumped and unloaded. That's what causes cancer. So that's why I visit this often, every so often, so that we can actually wrap our minds around what the most important thing about weight loss is. It's not so that you can look at the scale and say, woo, I'm 10, 15 pounds lighter. Because most of the time what you're doing is you're losing muscle, Vianney, and you're losing water, and you're also making your metabolism slower in the process. which is a guarantee that you're going to gain the weight right back. But the process that we use fixes the metabolism and makes sure that your metabolic age is coming down. So, just so that you guys know, some of you guys have done this. Some of you are in the room right now. You're not aware that we offer something like this, and it might be helpful for you. But basically, it's a 40-day program. We give you a journal, we give you a manual, we show you what to do, what not to do, and then we have these weigh-in appointments where we actually look at all of the metrics in terms of the body fat, the BMI, the visceral fat, your metabolic age, and make sure all of that is correcting. And of course, yeah, you lose at least 15 pounds. Most of our patients lose much more than that, 20, 30, 40 pounds inside of 40 days, but at least 15 pounds, we guarantee you for that. And it activates autophagy, it corrects your metabolism. Just sharing this with you.
Hi, my name is Linda Tomlinson. I've been a patient of Dr. Yachter for probably about 3 years now. I initially came to him for chiropractic needs, and I went to a workshop and they were talking about a weight loss program. I normally don't try weight loss programs, but everyone I've tried thus far never worked. But I decided to try it anyway. And I tell you, it was the best decision that I made for my health. I don't only have to take the diabetic medication anymore. I lost the weight I wanted to lose, and I have kept it off for a couple of years now. Deborah is very knowledgeable. She will walk you through it.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it's a matter of life, you know, because we want to be able to keep the weight off and eat healthy, and live longer, basically. So I just want you guys. I'm going to suggest that you guys try it because it really worked. I've sent 4 people that I know there that have went through the program, the weight loss program, and they look wonderful. So just let me know. I'm suggesting it. I put my life on it, and I did, and I got the best results. So you guys should try it. Just want to let you know, I'm grateful.
I'm grateful that she's willing to share that because she did her part and she really did well. I think the most valuable part for those of you who have done this, I think you'll agree. The most valuable part of it is you literally have the handbook now to keep it corrected for the rest of your life. It shows you how to manage, how to get it under control, and how to keep it that way, how to keep it fixed. So anyway, if you're interested in that, the initial body composition analysis, where they go over that with you, they do your initial weigh-in with all those metrics, and then tell you a little bit more about the program if you're a candidate or not. That initial normally is $99, but for the event special tonight for being at the workshop, it's only $37. Before you leave, if it's something that you think might help you, if you're interested in making that appointment, just talk to Deborah or Shaq, and they can make that appointment for you. Okay, so let's take a quick break here because the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. And all right, so I want to call up Shaq and Deborah here. Keep Tamara in your prayers. She wasn't feeling good today. Yeah, she's not with us tonight. But just I have some folks I want to recognize for perfect adjustment attendance. And we highly value all of you in terms of the commitment that you make to getting well and getting your health back. But when we see somebody literally like clockwork and keeping all their appointments and doing a fantastic job, we just want to give you a shout out and tell you how much we appreciate you. So the first is for Gary Clayton. Everybody give Gary a big round of applause. Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
That looks really good on you. That's awesome. All right, and the second one is for Matthew and Yenitz. Everybody give them a big round of applause. Yeah. Yeah. Crown you with your medal. Wearing it well. Awesome. All right, give them a round of applause. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Keep up the good work. All right. So So we got a few minutes left, but I really want to make sure that the blood is still going in your head. So in order to do that, we're going to take a quick break and squeeze the shoulders here. Come and stand up for me. Turn and face the person on your right. And I want you to grab their shoulders and do a massage. Do a massage. Yeah. Get that blood going. Get the blood going. Good. Karate chop. Karate chop. Are you awake? Leonie, are you awake? Leonie, you awake? Good. All right, turn around. Love your other neighbor. Play nice. Play nice. Don't hurt your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Wake him up. Wake him up. Wake him up. All right, give yourself a round of applause. All right, got a few more short minutes. Hang with me, okay? So I just want to talk to you about toxicity. Cal, this is really important in consideration because where does toxicity start? Where does toxicity start? In the womb. In the womb. The Environmental Working Group did a study and they examined the cord and the blood of the newborns. And what they found was cancer-causing toxins. They found an average of 200 toxins in each baby of the umbilical cord. 180 of them were known to cause what? Cancer, yeah. So where does toxicity start? In the womb. And a big part of it, of course, is what the mother does when she's pregnant, consciously, but another part is unconscious. Things like lead that runs in our water supply, lead in the paint, lead in the gasoline that they used to use. From previous generations, the lead gets stored in the bones. Where does it get stored?
Bones.
In the bones. And then what happens is it gets released from the bones when there are hormonal changes in the body. So when a woman's pregnant, it gets released into the newborn's umbilical cord, through there, into the baby. When you go through puberty, when you get older, and you have hormonal changes, menopause and things like that, the lead gets dumped and released from the bones into your body. One of the causes for drug-resistant hypertension, lead. So I'm mentioning that because we live in a toxic soup, and it starts before we're born. And then we go through life and we have all these health problems, not to mention cancer, and we wonder where the cause is coming from, and we never get to the root of this. So I want you to look at all these things. The EPA says our indoor air is 2 to 5 times more likely than our outdoor environment, and it's because of all this. Prescription drugs, soap, shampoo, toothpaste, all this stuff has sodium lauryl sulfate in it, which is known to cause cancer in laboratory animals. Aluminum in deodorant, aluminum in flu shots, and then you have mercury in our amalgam fillings. You have mercury that used to be in the contact lens solution. I could go on and on. You know, it's like you look at all this and you're like, who is not toxic? The question is, are you toxic? The question is, how toxic are you? And are you doing something on a regular basis to support your body's normal detox mechanisms? Because your body knows how to do that, but sometimes you have more coming in than can get out. Is this making sense? Yeah. And then we have something called glyphosate, which is probably the leading predictor right now in terms of Alzheimer's disease and dementia, which is happening more and more in younger generations. Why? Because glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. And what are they using most of that on now? Corn and soy. 70% of the application of glyphosate, which has gone through the roof in the last 20 years, is on corn and soy. And what do they use corn and soy to make now? Everything. What do you think they feed the cows and the chickens and the fish? And they use with pretty much every food product today. So if you're not buying organic, you got to be making better decisions, right or right? So at any rate, just want to show you this slide because they put a little bit of glyphosate solution in the water supply of these rats. And after a few short months, they all developed what? Tumors, mammary gland tumors, so which is the equivalent in humans as breast cancer. So we need to be having this on our radar and understanding what we need to do to reduce the effects of this on us. When we have toxins going into the body, they come in contact with the cells. What did I say the cell membrane is made up of? Of fat. So when they come in contact with the cell, there's an inflammatory response because toxins are not naturally occurring in nature. There's no receptors for them on the surface of the cell. They can't go in, they just camp out and wreak havoc at the surface of the cell, causing inflammation. Causing what? Inflammation. And if the cell wall is inflamed, it's blunted. Now the mechanism for transferring the nutrients in and getting the toxins out is shut down. And now you have toxins that are inside of your body, much like a fire burning in your house without a flue to let the smoke out. Are you getting the picture? Okay, now, what's inside that cell that I told you determines what happens, whether or not you get cancer? Your genes, your DNA. And what determines whether or not you get cancer? Not your DNA, but the environment of the DNA. So when your cells are loaded with toxins, what is it doing to that genetic switch for promoting cancer genes? Flipping it on. What is it doing to the cancer-fighting genes? Shutting it off. So, have at it. Go ahead. Leave all those toxins in there and not address that. You can eat good and exercise till the cows come home, but if you don't get that junk out, you're in bad shape. I hate to tell you, and I'm not speaking this over you, but I am telling you how the genes work and the DNA works. And I can speak personally from experience because genetically, my body needs help with detoxing. That's just me. I know me. When I start detoxing, when I do the True Cellular Detox program, and I'm on that, it's like rocket fuel. I mean, I don't need as much sleep. My energy is off the chart. It's like your brain is firing on all cylinders. Your body wakes up. Your energy is just off the charts because you're getting that junk out. And that's not something that you can do with a 10-day cleanse or a juice fast. I'm talking about something totally different. First of all, in order to detox, you have to prepare your body to detox. You have to prepare your liver. You have to prepare your lymphatic glands. You have to prepare your gut. You have to prepare all these things. Otherwise, you know what happens? You have a bad reaction. And you know what you do? You quit. So you need at least a full month, a full 30 days to prepare your body to detox. And then once you do that and you go into the body phase, and now you start pulling those toxins out, you do it safely and effectively. After those 30 days, then you go into the brain and you start getting those toxins out. And guess what? That's where the magic happens. That's where your life changes. And so some of you guys may have done this before. I know I do this at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, because that's how much of a difference it makes for me. Not just for preventing cancer, but just so I can be at my best and feel my best. Some of you are suffering with fluctuations with your blood pressure, digestive problems, struggling with your weight, dizziness, fatigue, brain fog, headaches, depression, trouble sleeping. Guess what? All of those are very common symptoms of toxicity. Again, not to mention promoting cancer. So is this important for our discussion tonight? Yes, to implement it at some level. Now, there are two ways that you can do this. If you're serious about this and you've never done a real deep dive into what your body looks like in terms of how toxic it is, you owe it to yourself to take the time to get tested. I think everybody has probably done some kind of cleanse or detox at some point, but you really don't know how toxic you are until you test this properly. The first thing is a meta-oxy, which is a urine test, which will tell you the level that on the right there of how toxic you really are by the shade of your urine once we mix it with the reagent. And the other is a visual contrast sensitivity test, because when you're very toxic, it affects the optic nerve. And then we're not looking for you to read out letters or numbers, there are lines. And Deborah takes you through this thing, and you look at these cards, and at a certain point, if you're toxic, you can't read the lines. Not only does it tell you if you're toxic, it tells you what you're toxic with. Could be heavy metals, could be biotoxins, mold, but it's very specific and very, very valuable. And between that and the questionnaire, we can get very specific with how urgent or not it really is that you do something with this. So if you want to get tested, ask Deborah. She'll set you up with the test appointment, and then you can learn a little bit about the program and how that works. If you're not ready to do that, or you want to just do something basic to support your body at a low level, support your liver every day to help with the liver part of pulling things out and detoxing, going back to the complete clean. Remember I talked about this before with all the protein and the vitamins and the nutrients in it? This has something called N-acetylcysteine in it, which is the precursor for glutathione, which is the master antioxidant in your body to help boost liver detoxification. So it's got 150 milligrams of it, which is 3 times as much as the Mediclear. Mediclear is a good product, but this is the one I use because it has the highest detoxing support with it. It's got green tea, which is good for cancer prevention. It's got turmeric, which is good for cancer prevention, so that's why I put that in there. All other cancer-preventing supplements you have asked me about, what else can I take for cancer prevention or reducing inflammation? Curcumin. How many of you guys have heard of turmeric or curcumin? Some of my patients cook with it, and some of us are under the false pretense that just cooking with it is enough to get the benefit, and it's not. If you're looking to get relief from shoulder pains, hip pains, knee pains, back, overall body pains, you need to take copious amounts of it. Like, it's called the therapeutic dosage. Not to mention if you're trying to prevent cancer. So in the capsule form, it has that highly concentrated dosage. And studies even show that this can actually kill cancer stem cells. So it's a very valuable nutrient if you use it properly. Vitamin D, everybody in here knows, during the pandemic, which people never left the hospital or they left in a body bag? The people with the what? The lowest vitamin D levels. The people who were discharged, who healed the fastest, had the highest vitamin D levels. What's the ideal vitamin D level? 70 nanograms per milliliter. Some of you come out of your doctor's office, gives you a clean bill of health, you got 25. Not a day goes by, I shake my head like, what is wrong with what's going on here? Do you want normal or do you want optimal? Yeah. You want to do everything that you can to check the box and say, okay, this is part of my cancer prevention plan. So that's why, again, we test regularly our patients at least once a year. Make sure I get a look at your blood levels so that we can tell you whether or not you're taking the right dosage. You could be taking 5,000 international units a day and still be down at 30. Did you know that? Just because you're taking a supplement, it doesn't mean that you're at the ideal levels. So that's why we don't guess, we test. Ultraplex Onco, specifically for cancer support, cancer preventative. It's a strong antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, enhances detoxification. Excellent, world-class cancer preventative supplement. That's why I put that in there. And then, of course, the CoQ10. We talked about this last month for the heart health because every cell in your body needs CoQ10. It's a necessary molecule for normal cell function, not just cardiovascular function, but also normal nerve system function. So at a cellular level, who here wants their body getting rid of the old damaged cells and replacing them with new healthy cells? Say aye. 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 Thank you for being awake. That's why this is important. So, what do you see here? 15% off. Turn to your neighbor and say, ooh. Turn to your other neighbor and say, ah. All right. Only time you'll ever see a discount on supplements is right here at a workshop because we're proud of you for being here. And more important than the information is what? Application. Remember we talked about that? Don't leave here doing nothing. Do something. So this is something that will encourage you to do that. anything with a green and white label on it is 15% off. Whether you get all of them or some of them, but whatever quantities that we have, they're limited. So before you leave, see them. All right, last two things. Does stress cause cancer? How is that possible? Yes, you have neurotransmitters that can awaken dormant cancer cells, and that's why it's important to understand autonomic balance. What is important to understand? Autonomic balance. What's your autonomic nervous system? See that chart in the upper right-hand corner? You got green nerves going out, and you got yellow nerves going out. The yellow nerves basically touch all the organs and speed them up and make them go faster. Heart rate, respiration, digestion. When you're stressed out, that's called the fight or flight reaction. Then the green nerves actually slow everything down. That's called rest and digest. Rest, recovery, healing. Where do you think the average American person lives their life? In what? Fight or flight. Way out of balance. Is that a good recipe for promoting cancer? Yeah. Okay, so what would be ideal is if you could get that nervous system back into autonomic balance? Yeah. You know why? Because that's what promotes rest and recovery and healing. Guess what chiropractic adjustments do? Promote that parasympathetic part, the rest and relaxation, because people with good autonomic balance can handle stress better. People with good autonomic balance can what, Mavis? Handle stress better. Thank you. Okay. I can't take the stress out of your life, but with the adjustment, physiologically, it will help your body adapt to its environment more efficiently. And because of that, studies show that people under long-term chiropractic care have a lower risk of cancer. So let me share some of that with you. What can you do for better autonomic balance? Get more what?
Sleep.
Deep breathing. I went for a brisk walk this morning. I wasn't just keeping a good pace. I was inhaling and then exhaling very slowly and completely. When you control your breathing like that, you're actually stimulating your parasympathetics. Meditation, prayer. A wise old man once said, the beginning of anxiety is the end of faith, and the beginning of true faith is the end of what? Anxiety. So, if I take my Dr. Yachter hat off now, and I say to you, if you want to cure your stress, you need more peace. The cause of stress is an absence of peace. And who's the source of peace in your life? God, Jesus, El Shaddai, right? And so, how do you obtain more of that source? Prayer. What else? Spending time with God. If you can remember back to the time when you were a child and you were walking, if you had a father, you may remember this, walking with your dad, and wherever you were walking, you just had no care in the world. You know that your dad was with you. He was going to take care of you. And if you misbehaved and somebody tried to hurt you, he would protect you. And you always felt safe. You were never worried about anything as a child if you were with your dad, right? You always felt safe. But then we get older and we totally forget all that. You know why? Because we don't have a father figure. That's your earthly father. How much more safety and hope and security do we have in our heavenly Father? And that's the source. But some of us don't know that, or we don't seek that. If you want more of that, spend more time with your heavenly Father. How do you spend more time with your heavenly Father? In prayer. Seek Him. Meditate on His Word. Read His Word. I started teaching Sunday school not because I actually wanted to, but because I wanted to serve the Lord, number one, and I knew He would provide a way for me to do what I need to do. Because when I open my mouth, it's His Spirit that's touching and encouraging the people. Jim, you're in our class. Michelle's in our class. Carlos, you come too. Yeah, Cheryl. There's so many of you who are in the class, and I feel like I'm totally inadequate. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I'm willing to get up and share and do what I can do to serve because I love the Lord. I want to be a blessing because I know He's a blessing to me, and I want to share that. And that's what this life is all about. And just, I'm not talking about religion. That's the thing. I grew up Jewish. I had a bar mitzvah. I didn't know who God was. I had no idea. But what I've learned is that it's not about the religion, it's about the relationship. And how do you have a relationship with somebody you love without spending time with them? And how do you get to know them without reading about them, their attributes, their character? And that's what I love about preparing for a Sunday school lesson. I get to learn about God at such a deep level that I have more peace now than I've ever had. I don't have any guarantees for tomorrow any more than you do. I have no idea. But you know what? I have more peace. I have more peace. And I can tell you that's an important recipe for preventing cancer. And that's why I'm sharing that with you. And you're all welcome to come to my Sunday school class. I'd love to have you. But I'm sharing with you what you need. You may not know that you need it, but everybody needs it. Because that's how God made us. We didn't make ourselves. God made us, and He knows exactly what you need, and He's ready to provide for us at all times. So, last thing I want to share with you is the chiropractic part. So, what did I say, Chris? When you were on the table, you asked me about this thing in your neck. Yeah, what is it? I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to call you out at the workshop. How many of you guys, when you're laying on your back, I put that temperature probe onto your neck, and you're like, what the heck is he doing? Why is he taking the temperature on my neck? And I said, well, it's your atlas. It's your what? It's your atlas. What's so important about the atlas? Well, it's a little 2-ounce bone that holds up a 15-pound bowling ball. And there's no disc above or below it. And so it's often traumatized as we come through the birth process, or we have thousands of falls as children, or we have car accidents, and we have all these traumas, which pulls our atlas out, and it leaves it there for a long time. So we all have an atlas listing the way it wants to go back to its old position. And most of the time, I'm looking at that because if there's pressure on that atlas, the brainstem right there at that level, what do you think that does to your immune system? It weakens it. How many of you guys remember Christopher Reeves, guy who flew off the horse, broke his neck? Guess what he broke? Atlas. Yeah. What did he die from? He didn't die from paralysis. He died from chronic upper respiratory infections. That's what he died from. So, how important is this law? Well, they did a study back in 1990. I was in school when this study came out. And they did a study on AIDS patients. And they had a group of AIDS patients that got a real adjustment right here. And they had a control group that got sham adjustments. Like they didn't actually, the patients thought they were getting adjusted, but they didn't. So what happens at the end of the study? The people who got the real adjustments, what happened to their white blood cell count? It went up what? By 48%. Yeah, significant. So this was a published study, and when I graduated chiropractic school, you know what I did? I went to the local AIDS shelter, I showed them the study, and I volunteered my time. And guess what happened? Same exact thing. All the people that I took care of, they bring me back their blood report, and we watch their viral load count go what? Drop down lower and lower until many of them actually got off their AIDS medications. Wow. Yeah. So that's why I check your atlas. So what is that worth? Year after year after year after year, getting your adjustments. What is that doing to your risk of cancer? Lowering it significantly. What is that worth? What is it worth to prevent cancer rather than being in a scenario where you're forced to treat it? You have no other options to treat it than with chemo or radiation. That's what we're talking about here. That's why, my average chiropractic patient here has been here for 10, 15 years. Many of you guys have been patients for over 10 years now. And I want to revisit this so that everybody understands why I always check the atlas. I do the same thing for you that I have done every Monday and that I do for my family. It's not about my back pain. I have herniated and bulging discs just like everybody in this room. My back isn't very much different. But that's not the biggest benefit that chiropractic has for me. The biggest benefit is so that my body can be as healthy as it could possibly be. How many of you guys want to be 100% of your God-given potential? Say aye. Yeah. So, Cancer Research University did a study, and they found they studied the immune systems of cancer patients, non-cancer patients, and non-cancer patients under chiropractic care. How long? 5 years or more. That means if you are not under chiropractic care for at least 5 years, you haven't reached your peak potential yet. Right? Some of you in this room haven't gotten there yet. After 5 years, they found that the chiropractic patients had immune system strength, on average, how much stronger? 300%. This is a real thing. So I just want to finish up with this story. This is Michael, who was the grandson of my patient Peter. And I was taking care of Peter back in the 1990s. And he was under care for, I don't know, better part of a year or so. And then he had this pain in his back that just wouldn't go away. And nothing I would do would help his back pain. So he didn't quit care. He just went to the doctor. Doctor sent him in for an MRI, CAT scan, and what did they find? They found metastatic cancer all throughout his spine. And they told him that he needed chemotherapy, and he brought all the results to me. He wanted to know what my opinion was. I said, well, the choice is yours. I wouldn't do it, but I understand if you want to do it. He did. I said the only thing that I would do is I'd be making sure that I'm getting adjusted like every day, or at least three times a week. He was my dad's age. I said, Peter, if you were my dad, I'd be adjusting you every day. So he went from maintenance care back to 3 times a week, never missed a visit. And a year or two later, they stopped the chemo. They had the cancer in remission, and the chemo had really bad effect in his lungs, left this fluid in his lungs. He had upper respiratory problems from the effects of the chemo, and the cancer came back. And so we went through the whole thing again, and I started adjusting him again 3 times a week. I don't think he ever got adjusted less than twice a week in those couple of years. And then he had his second round of chemo, and what happened? Cancer was in remission, had a pause. He was on oxygen now because of the damage from the chemotherapy to his lungs. The cancer was in remission, it was reduced, but now he was on oxygen. He had a hard time breathing. So now we're at year 7, right? 7 years later after his initial diagnosis. Still coming in, still getting adjusted regularly. Cancer comes back again. So I asked him, I said, what does your doctor want to do now? I mean, you already did chemo. I mean, it's obvious that the effects of the chemo are having significant damage on your respiratory system. What does he want to do? He's like, he doesn't know. He told me he doesn't know what to do. He's never had a patient like me make it to the 7-year mark, because he was stage 4 when they diagnosed him. He never had a patient go that far. He said, I know it's from the adjustments, definitely helping extend my life, however long I'm going to get, but I'm going to keep going with this. And he decided to get the chemo again, and it got so bad that he couldn't come in anymore. He was just in Jacaranda Lake, so I used to go to his house and adjust him. And he said, I just want one thing. I don't care. At this point, I know it's only a matter of time, but I just want to be alive around long enough to see my grandson's bar mitzvah. And I said, I'm going to do my part. And I showed up and I adjusted him at his house, and came the day. We were both there. I was at his bar mitzvah, and Peter was there, and that was his purpose. That's all he wanted to do. And he passed away a short time after that. And the reason why I tell you that story is because I think everybody in here knows that chiropractic is not a cure, right? It's not a cure for cancer. It's not a cure for any disease. And when I adjust somebody who has cancer, like my mother, for example, who had chemotherapy, my goal isn't to cure her. My goal is to remove the interference so that the body can adapt to its environment. The cancer, the chemotherapy, as bad as it is, at least give the body the best advantage it can to survive under those conditions. And you know what? If that means seeing that person live those extra few years, is it worth it? To have them have a better quality? She's lost all her hair. She's losing it again. She had surgeries. I shared this with you guys. It's horrible what happens. But you know what? Everybody needs to have a clear, healthy nervous system, whether they have cancer or not, right? Why wait till you have cancer to start getting adjusted? Do it long in advance. Everything that we talked about tonight is preventative, right? So you guys already know this. I'm preaching to the choir. But for those of you who, if there's anybody in here who's not a patient, the only way to know whether or not you have interference to your nervous system, which could be contributing to a weakening of your body, its inability to form healthy cells, or increasing your risk of cancer, is to find and remove any interference to the nervous system. How do we do that? using x-rays and thermography. And that's what we do on a regular basis with, at least annually with you guys who are maintenance patients. But for anybody who's not a patient here, this is the point that we start with. Now, whether you're a guest here or you have friends or family members that are not here, we have something called a Friends and Family coupon. Because normally the initial exam, the x-rays, the scan, everything that we do is close to $400. But with that Friends and Family coupon, it's only $97. So feel free to grab one of those if you're here tonight and you're not under my care and you want to have a consultation and go through that whole process, or if you have a family member or friend that you're thinking of that should have been here tonight that needs this information and you want to be a blessing to them, grab one of those before you leave. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Other than that, make sure you make plans for next month's workshop. Get your supplements if that's what you need. If you need a new patient appointment, or you need a body composition analysis, or you need detox testing, make sure you clarify that for them before you leave. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Love and appreciate you guys. God bless.